All right, who's excited to be at camp this year? I said, who's excited to be at camp this year? Awesome. Man, I'm excited to be tonight. Man, the Spirit of God is already moving. Anybody get a touch in worship? Come on, when we seek God out in the worship time, He just meets us right where we're at, even when we're sweaty. Come on, somebody. Listen, here's the thing. I was feeling this in my spirit. I feel the Spirit to rebuke you for just a moment, okay? Because I'm rebuked to myself is what happens. So when I get rebuked by the Lord, I take it as an opportunity to rebuke you in such a healthy way, okay? But here's what I felt the Lord say. He said, listen, you get so used to worshiping me when you feel comfortable, when you're cool, when you're not thinking about how ungodly hot it is in the room. He said, but it doesn't ever cost you anything in that environment. And there are other people who struggle to get an opportunity to get with Jesus, who in other countries are persecuted. So we can take it when it's a little hot in the room. Though it's uncomfortable, it's time to push through the uncomfortability and actually really get personal with Jesus. Because our worship, it actually has to cost us something. Or else it's not worship. It's just performance. It's just striving. And I've been doing this long enough, walking with Jesus, to realize the difference between when I'm striving and when I'm seeking. There's a difference. And it's like, oh, well, we just show up and we sing the songs and we just get in this routine and we sing Christian karaoke and it's so fun. No. We're actually meeting Jesus in these moments at this altar, whether we're going crazy in phenomena or being on our knees going after the Lord in a tender moment. But we are really cultivating an environment that seeks God out. And so tonight, I feel like God has really put this idea and concept on my heart of the deep end. And the reason why I feel that is because most of the time, most of us live our lives in the shallow. We do. It's more comfortable there. It's safer there. But God is good, friend, but He's not safe. He is a place of danger because when you're with Him, if you look at any stories of what the disciples got themselves into, it was not safe, but actually it was quite dangerous if you lived this out. But most of us would rather stay silent than speak up. Most of us would literally bow to the culture around us instead of serving Christ. And so when that happens, it actually becomes more comfortable for us because it doesn't cost us anything. And I felt like the Lord said, listen, this year is the year that Gen Z decides, no, I'm going deeper. This is the year that I decide with my life, I don't care what other 18-year-olds are doing. I don't care what other 13-year-olds are doing. I don't care what other 12, 10, 11-year-olds are doing. Me and my house, I will seek the Lord. See, my school will be transformed this year. My family gonna get a touch from God this year. I'm gonna see a real miracle happen in a real way, in a tangible way, because this is the God that I serve. It doesn't matter what generation or what age you're a part of. If you want something from God, go after it. Because this is the reality of this Jesus. He is so kind and compassionate that He will meet you right where you're at. And He's doing so right now in these moments. The tender and the exciting. Whether you're carrying in tonight, it'll leave if you let Him. Take it. But the problem is most of the time we get so comfortable carrying our own baggage. We put it on. Wear it like a blanket. Put it on like an essentials hoodie. That's what we do. Hey, you see my stuff? You like it? It's cool, huh? Well, you like my stuff? It's a little more faded. I got it a little while ago. And we compare our baggage. We compare our junk to try and create a self-righteous idea about our lives. Like, oh, well, there's some way, because I'm a bigger sinner, somehow God's going to do more in my life. No, friend, that's not how it works. Get right with Jesus and stay right with Him. Day after day, seek Him. He says He rewards those who diligently seek Him. What does diligently mean? Day by day, step by step, moment by moment, youth camp after youth camp, Wednesday night after Wednesday night, Tuesday morning when nobody else is around you after Tuesday morning. It's about getting serious with Jesus. And I think tonight God's going to speak a word to you that's going to help you recognize how to take Jesus a little bit more seriously. So tonight I'm going to read and start out of Matthew 6 for you. The Sermon on the Mount, Jesus' most gangster sermon. He hit bars after bars. I actually was shook today. I will confess this to you. I was shook by the Sermon on the Mount because in my head, I summarized it into one chapter in my Bible. It's like just right here, real short, real condensed. And then if you actually read it, this dude was going for days. He's like, I got this to tell you, then I got this to tell you, then I got this to tell you. And here's the thing with Jesus. There was loving and compassion in His tone because that's who His nature was. But if you read the text, rebuke, 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 rebuke. Yeah. Because He was looking to give you something. When the coach stops correcting you, he's given up on you. Wow. But this coach will continue to shepherd and guide you. If you read your scripture, it actually says that He makes you lie down in green pastures, which means He forces you to find a good space. He forces you to get out of the dysfunction you're so familiar with. He forces you to recognize without him you are nothing. That's what this Jesus does. And so he's teaching to a bunch of people on a hillside. He's saying, hey, listen, I'm trying to help you out here. I'm not rebuking you just to rebuke you, but I'm trying to give you context for what I want to do with your life. And in verse 19, Jesus ends up saying this. He says, don't store up treasures here on earth, where moths eat them and rust destroys them, and where thieves break in and steal. But store your treasures where? Where? Where moths and rust cannot destroy, and thieves do not break in and steal. Wherever your treasure is, there the desires of your heart will also be. See, your eye is like a lamp that provides light for your body. When your eye is healthy, your whole body is filled with light. But when your eye is unhealthy, your whole body is filled with darkness. And if the light you think you have, this is gangster, is actually darkness. I'll say it again. If the light you think you have, is actually darkness, how deep that darkness is. I'm going to preach for the next 6 hours on this idea. In too deep. In too deep. God, I pray right now you just speak this word. God, would you release this word over every young person, old person, middle-aged person, person who doesn't know what age they are. God, speak to them right now. In Jesus' name, everybody said. Amen. Amen. Tap your neighbor, say, in too deep. Say, you are in too deep. Because you are sitting next to me. Yikes. Yikes. You're in too deep. You know one thing I hate? Smack talk. Smack talk. Which is why I like to create a Color Wars environment that is so intense. Because to me, I laugh at people who smack talk. Jacob Thurman does this a lot. I love Jacob. He's one of my greatest friends in the whole wide world. But he will say things about his abilities that we know ain't true. Like, I could break a table. No, you can't. The Stingrays are gonna win. I don't know. But what I don't like is when I'm involved in the smack talk. I don't like it. It makes me feel uncomfortable. Makes me have to figure out how to come up with a roast somehow really fast. I like to talk, but sometimes your boy is at a loss for words. And it's usually when I get roasted. I'm like, that one's for you. You can have that one. I find myself getting in trouble. But this is why, do you know why this? They call it smack talk. Do you know why? This is my definition, okay? So take it as you will. But the reason they call it smack talk is because if you keep talking, you're going to get smacked, okay? You keep talking about me like that, I'm going to smack you. You keep telling me how this is going to roll out, I'm going to smack you. You keep telling me that you're going to be better than me in this area, even though I've been doing it longer than you, I'm going to smack you. That's how this is going to work. That's why they call it smack talk. And I had this situation several years ago. I was playing two-hand touch football. It's great. Not the best. Tackling is really cool. But in this generation, we're not allowed to do anything to anybody. So we have to touch. It's just the way it goes. I don't know what it's going to be in 10 years, but maybe it's blow football, like, got you. I don't know. It's the way we're headed. I pray against it. But we're playing two-hand touch football, me and my homies. It was a good time. We're excited. We're playing around. And my brother was playing with me. My brother, he was all of a sudden finding himself in an altercation. Some dude, shorter than him, smarter than him, just, hey, I'm so much better than you, bro. I got you locked down. You're going to fall over when you try to run at me. I'm going to trip you. Watch me do it. He's going all this stuff. And my brother is the best in the world because this is what he does. He's the silent smack talker. He's running his mouth. This is my brother. Not phased. Just. And you know the smack talkers that like to talk? Oh, that irritates them even more. They're like, I ain't getting to you. You ain't going to say nothing back to me? Nah. I'm going to smoke you in this route. Watch out. So anyway, all of a sudden, this guy's talking smack to my brother, and it's going on and on and on. All of a sudden, it's getting a little out of hand. My brother's not saying anything. And I'm like, yo, you seen this? And then my friend Alex, he liked the big dog. And he was watching this altercation happen as well. And he decided to take it upon himself, because this guy was talking smack, that he was going to get smacked, okay? So we're playing two-hand touch football for Mississippi Rush. All of a sudden, we're making the run. We're making it happen. Hike, he goes, doesn't wait any seconds, runs past and tackles this guy onto the ground. Took him out. Boom, sucker, taking you out. But the problem with this situation is because when you find yourself being so insecure that you're overcompensating about something, if you keep talking, you're gonna get smacked. If you keep trying to ignore what's really going on in your life, and you're trying to convince somebody in your life, you're trying to convince the devil you actually got authority, you're trying to convince the devil you're gonna take him out, but you don't actually have any kind of relationship with him, all of a sudden, he smack you. He tackle you. And you're like, how did I end up here? Because you actually had no authority. You actually weren't even developing anything. And so we cannot be afford to be Christians who be smack talking the devil, but then sleeping with him every other day that we can. I'm being for real. I'm being for real. We are so inconsiderate of our lives. And we're telling other people, hey, you should follow this Jesus. He'll change your life. Yet somehow he hasn't really changed mine. He has. I haven't changed mine. It's my choice to actually die on my cross daily. It's my choice to recognize I'm not going to participate in the smack talk. I'm not going to participate in overcompensating because I'm so insecure in my own life. And I feel like this is where we've gotten in too deep. In our sin, in our insecurities, in our flaws, and in our failures. We're in too deep. And so all we do is run our mouths about how we're not in too deep, ignoring the problem, losing awareness of what's actually going on. And all of a sudden, life hits you and flattens you, and I'm like, how did this happen to me? God, I thought you were for me, not against me. God, I thought you would have fixed this issue in my life by now. God, I thought you would have snapped your fingers and all of a sudden I'd have been, boom, in it right now. No. It's the day by day diligently seeking him. But when we step away from him and receive the gift without spending time with the giver, all of a sudden we find ourselves in too deep. Because it's just a moment for us. Oh, it's just that youth camp 3 years ago. Oh, I love youth camps because I save up for the whole year. Oh, I just let the Lord fill me up. And then I go do what I want the rest of the year. Because I'll be at youth camp next year. I'll be on a team. It'll work out. I'll go be in that bunk. It'll be hot anyway. Who cares? I'm going to load up. And then I'm going to take my time and live my life. And we've been doing this over and over and over and over again. We find ourselves being so consumed in our own life, we have lost the structure of diligently seeking him. Yeah. And that's what Jesus is saying to his disciples, to the people on the hillside as he's preaching this message. He's like, listen, if the darkness inside of you actually think is light, you are in too deep. When Netflix asks you, are you still watching? You are in too deep. You have been there too long and you didn't even recognize how much time you wasted. Oh, next one? Let's do it. Oh, next opportunity? I'm going to feel myself on this one too. Oh, I said I wasn't going to go to that party, but this one sounds cool. I'm going to just do this one. But you slowly desensitize yourself to reality, and all of a sudden you live in a fantasy land where you think you're a really good Christian, but you actually suck at it. Wow. I've done this. We do this. We find ourselves hyping ourselves up because we actually recognize there's such a lack. And we're trying to convince ourselves that we actually know him. But the moment we've become so unself-aware that we've done this, we recognize, man, maybe I don't really know him. I love that Daniel took us there for a moment tonight. It's about knowing him. I preached that a couple weeks ago. We've got to realize we've got to know him. But if we don't know him, we are smack-talking our relationship. I'm just saying whatever I want to. Oh, me and Jesus are tight. Would he say the same? And it's not because he's not trying. Jesus desperately, diligently seeks me. But what am I doing in my response when I'm in too deep? When the suicidal thoughts are just pouring over my brain? When the anxiety is just eating away at every moment that I have of every day? I'm just finding myself too deep in those thoughts. What's my response? What am I doing in those moments? But the problem with that is because we're no longer self-aware of our abilities. We don't recognize what our problems are. We don't recognize the things that trip us up. We don't recognize the places it wants to take us. Because there's a difference between something that's hiding and something that's hidden. There's a difference between something that's hiding and something that's hidden. I got a question for you. You might have hidden sin that God's working on and you're aware of, but do you have hiding sin? Are there things that are in your blind spots that you've never recognized before and you have never dealt with, and it's actually just creeping at your door waiting the next opportunity to take you out? Are you having some hiding sin in your life? Friend, I would say that you are in too deep when you're no longer able to be aware. Because what that leads you to is this word, arrogance. Arrogance. And arrogance is confidence in me. I'm that one. I'm the one that got away. Not her. Me. I got away. Because I'm a snack. I'm a catch. I'm all that and the bag of chips and the winner of Color Wars. I'm everything. And that's how I'm going to get me the girl at camp this year, actually. She want a winner, you know what I'm saying? She looking for somebody who can do all that. That's me. I'm trying to get there, and I become arrogant. Do you know where arrogance is preached? In the devil's pulpit. Why? Because he's trying to convince you to take all the confidence that you should be putting in God and put it on yourself. All the things that he's trying to draw in your life and getting you closer to him, you're just putting it on you. He's preaching that. Jesus will never be preaching that. Jesus preaches self-sacrifice when the devil preaches self-service. That's coming from his pulpit. Oh, and he rally on Sundays too. You didn't know that? We rally 6 times on Sunday. You don't think the devil's trying to stop every single moment that we're trying to go after the presence? You don't think so? I think so. I picture it in my mind. They got these little weird hats on, and they're like doing this weird like satanic ritual, and they're just like, man, I hate those Christians up at Pursuit, man, especially those youth kids, man. They just drive me nuts. This is how the devil talks in my head. And I'm just like, this is what he's trying to create something, and so he's preaching too. But sometimes I just wonder, instead of visiting God all the time, I might even be in the church building, but am I actually visiting and listening to the sermon that Jesus is preaching to me or what the devil's preaching to me? I'm on my knees in worship. The devil started preaching too. Woo! He'll be saying, that was fake. No. God's not doing nothing. You think that if you beg loud enough, God will actually hear you? You think if you just lay flat on the floor this long, then something magical is going to happen? Oh, the devil preach actually more sometimes because he is bad at his job. So he is smack talking you. He got no ability to take you. He got no opportunity to take you. He never is allowed to take you. No, God bought you one time, and one time is enough for me. When he says it's final, the devil's got no opportunity to take me. He said it's my blood on your life. He said it's my life for your life. I will pay the price. I will take the punishment, so the devil cannot have you. But I've got to fight me wanting to have the devil. I have to fight it. Because he looks cute. Y'all think he's ugly? He is handsome. That's why he be working on you. You don't see it. You don't recognize it. He is working in mysterious ways just as well. Everything that Scripture talks about Christ, the devil manipulates. So if he knows that Scripture says God works in mysterious ways, he's trying to make that work in his playbook. Oh, I'm going to try a bunch of different things. Oh, that didn't work with cigarettes, so we just changed it to vapes now. Oh, I'm going to just try this out. Hey, listen, back in the day, we could get away with these other things, so let's try this my body, my choice pitch, because maybe it'll actually work out a little different this time. He's trying to work in mysterious ways to indoctrinate your mind so that all of a sudden you don't even recognize that you are in too deep. But he's just been smack talking. And somebody in Gen Z needs to stand up and tackle that man. Because he's not just smack talking you, he's smack talking your friends. He's smack talking your family. And I just wonder if anybody in Bear Paw Camp tonight would be willing to say, I'm taking ownership of that. You ain't got to be Mike Tyson. You ain't got to be the best fighter. It's how you fight that matters. But the how you fight is the sacrifice. I've got to be willing to diligently seek him, and my arrogance has put me in a place where I'm putting confidence in me, when really I was actually designed to put confidence in him. That's how I was designed. So when I do anything to put confidence in me, I'm actually going against the design of the Creator. I'm going against it. We fall into sin, but Christ didn't put sin on you. We fall into a world that is encompassed by sin, but that's not your design. it's sometimes your nature, but it's actually because you were birthed into it. It's not how he wrote the book. That's why he is desperately chasing you tonight. That's why he's desperately calling your name week after week. That's why you feel so much opposition in your life, is because God has so much to do for you and the devil wants you to have none of it. But are you leaning into arrogance? Oh, I ain't gonna trip up on that. I got over that sin. I got past that. That don't even trip me up no more. Really? When you talk pridefully, you fall. Not my words. Fact check me. Some of y'all figure out later who said that. But we've got to recognize this. Arrogance is not coming from the heart of heaven. That's not the language of heaven. Humility is the language of heaven. I'm submitted. God, I really want to get off this thing. God, I've been addicted too long. God, I've been listening to those thoughts that I should take my life, even though you blessed me with it, for far too long. And I know, God, that I'll probably hear those thoughts again. But God, could you help me get over them? God, could you help me get a little bit closer to you? God, I'm in too deep. I don't know what to do. I feel overwhelmed. Help me. That's a posture of humility. Humility is not going, I don't struggle. No, you'll still struggle if you just have a different attitude and a different heart posture. And God can do so much more with that than he could ever do with your arrogance. No, put your confidence off of you and put it back in him, because the darkness is deep. But I just wonder if sometimes we put ourselves in these deep situations. Like we blame the scenario, we blame the situation, but sometimes the deep that I'm in is just me. Oh, it's just me. It's not Ethan, it's just me. It's not Trevor, it's just me. Well, Trevor said this though. Yeah, but I took it and went and did something with it. I remember one time I did something stupid. I do a lot of stupid things when I was a kid, so I don't remember these things. I just know it was dumb. You know how I know it was dumb? Because I got punished for it. And my dad would be a really smart guy, so he would know, yeah, that was dumb, you punished for it. But the moment that I recognized this, I like this form of punishment, by the way. I appreciate this about my father. You might have your own take, that's fine. What I found about my father's form of punishment was he would let me pick the punishment. What do you mean? Does that mean you got to only pick to not have to play video games for a month instead of 6 months? No. Not that way. How long the punishment would last was my choice. One time I did something dumb. We're at my grandma's house. I was acting a fool. It's okay. I got two brothers. We act a fool a lot. My dad would have to snap his fingers with, sorry, that's us. That's on us. That was me. And I found myself doing something stupid. And my grandma had a big backyard. Big. Really big. And my dad said, hey, that was dumb. Shouldn't have done that. How about this? You got a lot of energy. I forget what it was. It probably had to do something with energy, because when I had a lot of energy, I would either break something or break someone, okay? So I found myself in this situation. And so my dad said, okay, how about this? You're going to go, because he asked me to apologize. Let me give you the context. He said, hey, you got to apologize for that. You got to fix the situation. I said, no. I was just being me. I was just doing me, bro. Leave me alone. That's what I said. And he said, hold up a second. That's not how this works. That's arrogance. You need to apologize because it was wrong. So he said, you go run in the backyard, and then when you're ready to apologize, you can come back. So here's me. Hate this guy. One day I'll be a track star. I'm a runner, I'm a track star. I'm getting there, one day by day. No, I don't want to apologize. And I found myself running back and forth in my grandma's backyard. I want to say it was probably 20 minutes, honestly. Dumb. Because you know what my dad was doing? Oh my God, he was kicking his feet up. It didn't hurt him. I was the one doing it. My dad said, hey, you need to be punished for that so that you will learn. But I chose how long I would dwell in the punishment phase. God's been trying to correct some things in your life due to some arrogance that's been hiding. And he's trying to help you. And so he says, hey, I need you to go run that off quick. That's what my dad said. I need you to go run that off quick. But when you're done, you can come back. But you need to go run that off because it was a bad decision. I need you to get your mind right. You need to go run that off. And God is doing the same thing with your life. He's saying, listen, I know you tripped up in that area, so I need you to go run that off. Hey, you're going to feel some weight of this because there's a consequence to every decision that you make. But listen, it doesn't have to be a big deal, but it's up to you. So when you want to come back, I'm right here waiting when you're ready to apologize and repent and come back to me. That's what God's waiting on. And so what we're doing is we're putting ourselves in deep situations because we're unwilling to do the simple thing of humbling ourselves and repenting. The Israelites did this for a long time. Oh, they was just chilling. And they were going to go to the promised land, but they were in rebellion and they were whiners and they were complainers. So God said, that's fine, fam. I'm outside of time. I ain't on a schedule. Like tonight, we got to push the session back, push the session back. When y'all want to go to the promised land, you let me know. How about you walk around your grandma's backyard? I'll be waiting. When y'all done clowning, give me a call. And I feel like that's what we've been doing. Somebody in this room tonight, you've been running and running and running. And God says, stop running. It's not that deep unless you want it to be. It doesn't have to be that deep of a situation. I'm just trying to tell you it was a moment, it was a bad thought, and there's a consequence because that's just the nature of this world. And if there's no consequence, you'll never learn anything. So I just need you to run around for a minute. But we just like to do our own thing. Because what happens is this, we get tunnel vision. You know what tunnel vision is? I literally cannot see anything else to my left or to my right. I can only see what's in front of me. My head's down, and I'm running real fast, and that's all I'm doing. Tunnel vision. It's like these guys on the sports teams. I played sports my whole life. Oh, I hated soccer players on my team that had tunnel vision. Brother, if you don't know how to move the ball at your feet and not look up at the same time, go back to U2. Be young again. You've got to learn how to do this. This is a fundamental. You can't do this. You can't learn how to do this is a basic step. Because all of a sudden there's 10 options on the field. Hey, yo, use us. We over here. Hey, give us the ball. Look, I'll give it right back to you. If you give it to me, I'll see you make a great run. I'll play you in and we'll score. That's what I'm trying to say. But the tunnel vision prevents me from seeing everything that God has for me. I'm focused on this thing because I feel like this is the word God has for me. I'm feeling like I'm stuck in this area. I feel like I'm in too deep, and so I cannot see that freedom is right there. Because I'm looking forward at my failure. Not back at my failure. I'm looking forward at my failure. I'm looking forward to fail. How many times do you do that? You step into a situation, this ain't gonna work out, man. Hey, this just ain't gonna work. You looking forward to failure. No. We look back at failure. We laugh at it. We need to have more confidence in the success that God's placed before us than the failure of our past life. But we cannot continue to look forward to the tripping and the stumbling. That is called stupidity. That's paying a price that's already been paid, friend. Jesus took that. He took that for you. It doesn't mean that you'll never fail. It just means that your attitude when you fail will be different. Don't worry about tripping because sometimes you'll just stumble into something even better. All of a sudden you'll find yourself in a moment you never thought could happen. Oh, I tripped, great, but watch what I stumbled into. Oh, I slipped up here and there. Yeah, but watch what you fumbled yourself into in the next season just because you actually stepped out and you tried to do something and God blessed you for it. That's who this God is. And that's what he does. But we have to recognize, listen, we cannot get stuck in the idea of that we're going to be failing. We're going to get stuck back in our focus. And so when we have tunnel vision, all of a sudden we just get locked in on one thing. The reality is that your future is defined by the focus of your vision. Your future is defined by the focus, the parameters, what you see around you. The future of your life is up to you, not up to me. I'm going to preach this word until you get it, but that's as far as I can take it for you. I'm going to create an environment where hopefully you meet the presence of God. I'm going to trust him. Hey, God, if we meet, God, if we send a bunch of kids out to camp, God, would you show up and do something that I can't do in my own power? That's all I can do for you. Because it's your future, but where is your focus? What are you looking to? What are you looking at? Matter of fact, where are you looking? Are you looking to? Or are you stuck in that tunnel vision because you're confined to the things? And this is the reality. When you get stuck into tunnel vision, you cannot see all the stuff that God wants to do in the little by little. Because every decision that you make, friend, either constricts your future or it constructs your future. it either squeezes the life out of your future or you can actually build a future. It can actually miss the opportunities, or if you wait on the Lord, He'll give you better opportunities. The opportunity you have is to choose, am I going to constrict or am I going to construct? Am I going to throw this away when God gave it to me, or am I going to use it even though it's shaved a little weird, this brick and this block? I'm going to put it at the base and just hope it works out. And one day I find myself doing that every day. God has built a destiny, not just with my life, but for my future and for my family and for everybody else that's coming behind me. But it's a moment by moment, brick by brick, opportunities that I decided I'm not going to constrict my future. I'm going to take off the blinders, look out everywhere, look this way, this way, this way, this way, and this way, and construct my future. So you're always building, but what are you building? You're building on you, or you're building on the rock? Jesus. Every decision, you've got to right to that funnel. You've got to take it to that place. Is this building my life upon Him, or is it building my life upon me? That's how you get in too deep, friend. You feel it, you're like, I don't know how I got here. It was just a little thing months ago. It wasn't even that deep months ago. How did I get here? Decision by decision, constricting your future. The devil wants you to constrict when God is calling you to construct. Because if you build a house, oh, the devil can huff and he can puff. Oh, he can show up with a jackhammer, a chisel, and whatever tool he thinks he needs. But if you have built something of value with your life, it will withstand the test of time. And that devil can keep knocking, and he keep knocking. You can't even hear him because the wall you built is so thick. But I'm just wondering tonight, where are the people who are willing to start building their life upon the rock? Who are the people that when the devil shows up knocking, they're already putting a sorry, do not disturb sign on their door? I'm not trying to constrict my future. I've got to start constructing it, because one day, the test I'm facing is going to be bigger than this one. Let me help you. It only gets harder, but the reward gets greater. What you're facing now is temporary. You will face more, and guess what? You will get through what you're going through right now, and you will get through what you're going to go through then, until the day that the Lord takes you home. Because He promised it. And a promise from God, friend, is enough for me. I'm not going to beg Him. Are you sure that's what you meant? I'm not going to question that. God has done way too much in my life for me to sit here and pretend like He hasn't. What do you mean? That's why I can trust Him with the next thing, because look at the last thing He did. When I was in the last thing, I didn't know if I was going to make it through. But the last thing will become the next thing. And you'll be able to look back and say, man, God did it then and He's doing it now. God did it before and He'll do it again. God did it in the past tense, and He's going to do it in the future tense. God has been faithful to me. And friend, I would say that God has been faithful to you. Even if you haven't seen it, He's been working on you. Because God doesn't have constrict in His vocabulary. He has construct. He builds. He builds you. He builds your character. He builds your design. He takes you through the things moment by moment, step by step. I feel like that's what Jesus is looking. He's like, listen, when you get to a place where you don't even recognize how far you are from me, how deep is that? How deep is that? I don't think they got a scale for that, is what Jesus is saying. If you don't recognize, you think that sin is good? It's not that bad? I don't even got a scale for how deep that is. You have found yourself way too deep. And I'm trying to help somebody tonight who feels like you are suffocating in this life and you don't know if you're ever going to make it out. But friend, can I tell you, there's a God who wants to take your pain. He wants to take it, but I have to let Him. I have to open it up. But here's the reality. This is what Jesus says. He tells us that's where it was, but He tells us, why do we get to the place where we're in this deep darkness? Can you put up verse 21 for them? He says, wherever your treasure is, there the desires of your heart will also be. So the darkness that I'm in is a result of the treasure that I'm trying to find. The treasure. The Bible doesn't say that your heart leads you to the treasure. It says that the treasure, the object, pulls your heart. Ever went treasure hunting, geocaching, doing something, you're looking for a Pokemon Go, right? You want to hunt. You're trying to make it work. It's a treasure hunt. You've been trying to find something. You've been trying to work so hard because you want to get it. When you finally get it, it's so exciting. Oh, I love the feeling when I work hard to find something that I want. And it could be the dumbest thing, but it's the reward of, bro, I got that. I solved that puzzle. Did you see me? That's why I love escape rooms. Oh, I love escape rooms. When I get into escape rooms, I feel like the Spirit of God get on me. I said, okay, listen, I don't know, I'm not Einstein, but if you try this and you flip this over here, and if you switch this piece of paper over here, all of a sudden you're going to see that there's a Venn diagram. It's got an angle that points 90 degrees, 180 degrees. It doesn't even make sense, but somehow it gives me the code, and I'm like, let's go! Because I get excited, because I'm looking for the treasure. And the treasure in the escape room is crazy. You know what's crazy about the treasure in the escape room? I pay to win nothing. I pay to win nothing. There's no reward at the end of this escape room. As a matter of fact, I spent a lot of money to be in this room, for you to lock me in here. But there's the thrill in getting to the treasure. Let me help you tonight. Jesus is the only treasure that will not do harm to you. Jesus is the only treasure that will bless you when you find it. Every other treasure that you find, that you seek after, that you spend time on, either binds you or burdens you. But the treasure of Jesus blesses you. See, when you look for a hidden treasure, if you ever watched any of these National Treasure movies or any of these things that are super exciting and they look for it, or like a pirate's treasure, you know what's always on these treasures when you get it? A curse. They finally get it, and all of a sudden, there's a weight to it now. They're burdened to protect the treasure because somebody else in some other side of the planet is looking for that same treasure. And in the same way, if your treasure is a substance, if your treasure is a feeling, you will be bound by that treasure. It will not bless you. It will keep you coming back because it will never satisfy. That's how the science works. Trust the science. It wants you to get yourself so in a repetitive circle so that you will be bound. So I wonder, friend, tonight, if the deep pit that you feel like you've stuck yourself in, or the things where you feel so removed from God in your life, I just wonder if it's because the treasure that you've been seeking has been binding you. If it's the treasure you've been seeking that's been burdening you. I don't know what to do with this. I feel like I found something. No. When you find Him, He blesses you. The problem is, He is sometimes the hardest treasure to find. But most of us don't look for Him. This is an easy place to find Him. But what about when the stage and the lights and all your friends aren't there? What about when you're in a situation and you've got a decision of whether you're going to smoke that with them or you're going to go hang out with those people and do things that you shouldn't do? What do you do then? What treasure are you choosing then? Because if I choose the treasure of Jesus, all of a sudden, He blesses me. Because He is a God who blesses on every decision you make. You don't necessarily see it here, but where is the location that Jesus says? This is why He says, don't store your treasures here. He says, store them in heaven. How do you store your treasures in heaven? Make Jesus your treasure. But He's quoted as the treasure hidden in the field. You got to work for it. Oh, that's why it's so sweet when I find Him. It's not because He wants to play hide and seek. It's because He's trying to take me somewhere I have never gone before. If you start chasing God, if you really get serious about God, sometimes you will feel the farthest from Him that you ever have. Why does that happen? I had a season of my life. I was like, man, I feel like I'm giving God everything. I feel like I'm trying to be a great person. I feel like I'm really trying to spend time alone with God even when nobody else does it and it's not cool. I'm trying all these things, and I felt like for the first time in my life in that same season that God had left me for the first time in my life. And I had to catch a revelation. The revelation was this. My relationship with God was so shallow on the surface for so long that when He actually wanted to take me deeper, it felt like I couldn't even find Him. Because I was going into uncharted territory. I was going somewhere where I never had to pour out that kind of a cost before. If I just show up when everybody else is going after the Lord, it's easy to see Him, and I just catch the overflow. But sometimes, friend, I'm going through so much in my life, I've got to stir myself up. I've got to get in my pillow and cry about my family who's going through the situation that they are. I've got to find myself in the hope and say, man, God, I thought that I was going to get that job. I thought that that school situation was going to work out. I thought I was going to be on the team this year. I thought I was going to actually make friends this year. I thought the bullying would finally stop this year. I thought it would be different. When are you going to fight to find the treasure of Christ? Because if you find the treasure, all of a sudden, it gets so much better. gets so much better because he is the treasure. The affection of him is what drives my life. And so when I seek him out, there's always blessings that follow. Always. Always. There's not sometimes. No, he rewards those who seek him. And so when I say, hey, listen, God, I'm in too deep, but I'm just going to keep swimming through all this stuff until I find you, he sees that. Oh, everybody else made that choice, but you were drowning in your despair and you still called to his name and not to the name of the pill. He saw that. When you chose in that hard moment, when you felt like you had nowhere else to turn to, and you actually poured your spirit out and your heart out for him, he saw it and he filled you. But the devil's been trying to convince you that it never even happened because you didn't feel an electric shock come through your body. Sometimes God is in the small, sensitive whisper, the small, sensitive hug. Oh, when I'm hard-hearted, I hate to hug people, but it's the best thing for me. Oh, when somebody hugs me and I'm just irritated, all of a sudden my whole attitude shifts. And I didn't even think about it. But there was a release of the sweetness. And friend, God's been looking for you. And you've had your arms crossed. You've been trying to deny him. It's time to let him hug you. He's like, I see you in that deep, dark pit. I see you. I know you don't think anybody can see you. You've been screaming help. But when you're underwater, it doesn't really sound like help. But I'm the God who made you, and I can still hear that. And I see you. I'm reaching down, but I need you to meet me somewhere in the middle. Because if I just reached all the way down and grabbed you, it wouldn't really help you. I need you to work with me. I need you to find yourself meeting me. I need you to realize that there's something that you've got to do. I'm drawing myself unto you, but you've got to draw yourself unto me. And this Jesus wants to do that for you. He does. But we have to find ourselves actually diligently seeking him and going in those deep, 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 deep moments. It's not that deep. Oh, it's not that deep. But the reason we get to it's not that deep is when we recognize how deep other things are. There are some things, friend, that are really deep. Really deep. And you shouldn't mess with those things. When you take a mentality of, oh, it's not that deep to sin, where do you find yourself? In the deep of sin. If it's not in the deep of despair, and I just spent all this time, I find myself in the deep of despair. If I've got an attitude of arrogance that says it's not that deep, friend, can I help you tonight? Change your vocabulary. No, I'm not sleeping with my boyfriend. It's that deep. No, I'm not going to that party. It's that deep. No, I will not curse God when my family is falling apart. It is that deep. And somebody has to recognize and take ownership in this room and say, it is so deep. It is so deep. It is so deep. The devil's been trying to tell you, hey, just let it go little by little. It's not that deep. But I'm looking for somebody tonight who would be willing to say, no, God, I'm putting my foot down because it is that deep. My family matters to me. It is that deep. My mom matters to me. It is that deep. My future belongs to me. It is that deep. I'm not going to keep swimming in the drowning into despair. It is that deep to me. It's that deep. It's that deep. Oh, but I've got to find myself going through some tension to get to the deep. See, because if it's that deep from the outside, from the devil, how much more deep do you need the words of God to get in you? There's a guy named Ezekiel. And Ezekiel was a prophet. And the Israelites were in rebellion against God. And so he banished them. He exiled them. And they were in such turmoil and such bitterness that when God spoke to them, because back in the day, God spoke audibly, very loud to them, clearly. They stopped listening to the audible voice in the sky. So God said, I've got to send a human to reason with these people. And so he chose Ezekiel. Let me read this to you. This is really interesting to me. Ezekiel chapter 3. Watch this. He says to Ezekiel, Son of man, go to the people of Israel and give them my messages. I'm not sending you to a foreign people whose language you cannot understand. No, I'm not sending you to people with strange and difficult speech. If I did, they would listen. That's crazy. He's saying a stranger would actually listen to you. But the people of Israel, your homies, will not listen to you anymore than they listen to me. For the whole lot of them are hard-hearted and stubborn. But look, I have made you as obstinate and hard-hearted as they are. I've made your forehead as hard as the hardest rock. So don't be afraid of them or fear their angry looks, even though they are rebels. Verse 10, watch this. Then he added, Son of man, let all my words sink deep into your own heart. Let all my words sink deep into your heart. Listen to them carefully for yourself. Then go. Somebody say, then go. Then go. To your people in exile and say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Then he says, do this whether they listen to you or not. Listen, we've got to let the words of God sink deeper than the words of the devil. I love the phrasing. Ezekiel, here's the situation. They ain't listening to me. I'm going to send you. Maybe they'll listen to you, but probably not because they don't even listen to me and I'm God. So I don't understand what's wrong with these clowns anyway, but I just feel like trying. Maybe it'll give me some comedy because I like, these guys are so dumb. I've been trying to get to them. I've been calling them and they ain't been calling me back. They ain't even got a voicemail set up. That's the worst, okay? When you call somebody, you can't even leave a message. It's like, yo, what's good? They're like, this person has not had a voicemail inbox set up yet. I'm like, how long you had the phone? What you waiting on? What you waiting on? Oh, you can just text me. Well, how about if I want to send you a message, okay? And I need you to call me back because I got to call you because you've been acting silly and I need you to hear how I feel about the situation. And God's like, hey, Israelites, I'm trying to call you. I can't even leave a voicemail. So I'm going to send a man in the flesh. I'm going to try it out. He goes, they won't listen. So he preps Ezekiel. Just like God's been trying to prep you. Do you know what Jesus asks Peter? Who do you say that I am? Peter, who am I to you? Some say, you're this, Elijah, John the Baptist. Some say. God says, I don't care. Jesus says, that's not what I asked. The Holy Spirit says, this guy. He says, who do you say that I am? Let my words sink deep into your heart. And whether or not they listen to you, Ezekiel, let them know that you knew who I was and you were committed to speaking it regardless of whether they were feeling it or not. Oh, I hate trying to speak when people ain't feeling me. That's why I like when y'all talk back in a sermon. You know why? It's not because it's for the hype and for the show. It's because I respect you in a way that I'm trying to help you. And so when you say, hey, that was for me, it helps me understand. Listen, let's stay on that point for a second. Hey, let's stay here for a moment because somebody's getting something out of this. Because it takes participation in this journey of faith with God. It's like, hey, God could be preaching to me, but if I'm not talking back, he's like, listen, I already caught the revelation. I ain't got to help you anymore unless you want to. And we've got to let the words of God sink deep in our hearts. But we've been sinking deep in the past and in our thoughts, but we've got to sink deep in his words for us, in our hearts. We've got to sink. But here's the problem. Most of us, all of a sudden, we feel like we're being overwhelmed. We feel like these things are getting on us. We feel overwhelmed, and we think that we're drowning. But drowning will kill you. Sinking is submitting. Sinking is just going, I'm just letting it go for a second. Sinking has a bad connotation, but the real definition of sinking is just to get submerged. So I don't know about you, but I want to sink in the presence of the Lord. I want him to submerge me. I have to take my hands off the wheel for a moment. I got to drive myself to the stadium. I got to get in there. I've got to stir up my spirit. But then when he begins to speak, I got to sink. That's why we wait in worship. We're not trying to prove anything to him, but he likes to let us talk for a little while. And then all of a sudden, when the glory's in the room, you just got to sink. You just got to stay there. It's so sweet. It's like, well, why are we doing this? We got other stuff to do. Friend, because we just got to the best thing we could have ever got to. The moment where we just get to listen and lay and stay. Because he's like, oh, I love these young people. Oh, I love these kids. Oh, I love them so much. I love Abby and Olivia. I love them. I love Ethan and Luke. I love them because they've been sinking in me. But we've been convincing ourselves that we've been drowning. And the devil goes, hey, that's my language. Because I came to kill and steal and destroy. That wasn't God. So yeah, keep calling it drowning. No, friend, it's an opportunity when life gets kind of crazy to just sink. Oh, just sink. It doesn't mean you don't do anything. You've got to actively try to just flow and let it happen. But you've got to allow yourself to begin to sink. But you have to find yourself going somewhere that you've never gone before. Because in the deep is where God can do his best work. So if you're in too deep with sin, don't you think you should be in too deep with the Father? Don't you think you should find a better replacement? Don't you want to actually get free and find something that will not take it away from you tomorrow? Don't you want something that doesn't give you any kind of kickback? That's what I want. I want to sit in the arms of the Father when I need it, when I'm going through something, and he doesn't ask for anything in return. When I ask for him to come and show up in my life, he just does it because he is that kind of God. This is who we serve. He's a good God who's faithful, and he's committed to me more than I'm committed to him. So even when I'm flaky on him, even when I miss the date in the appointment and I told him we got to reschedule and it hurt his heart. Oh, friend, it hurts him when you forget about him. But even when I do that, he is so committed to me and he is so committed to you that when you beg and when you ask and when you say, God, here I am, he shows up. But he's trying to take you from the shallow end to the deep end. But y'all been stuck in the kiddie pool. Can I get that? I got an illustration. Mainly because I think this is cool. There's a shout out to the swordfish. And I kind of clowned them on Wednesday night thinking they weren't going to win. But this is most of our life. I can't even commit to sitting in this whole thing because I'll barely even fit in it. How ridiculous is it that I'm sitting in this kiddie pool and I don't even fit in it? I don't even got anywhere to go from here. But I'm just chilling. I can lean back. It might hold me, it might pop because I'm kind of fat. But I'm going to try and make it work. I'm going to lay here. Oh, this kiddie pool kind of nice. But I still can't even put my feet in. But my feet are on the ground in the kiddie pool. So I like this right here. I'm going to just stay here. Maybe I could get some floaties. Maybe y'all could bring me some popcorn. Maybe I'll actually get tan, but I live in Washington, so it's kind of hard. Maybe, oh, this is actually kind of nice. I might just stay right here. Oh, because it's comfortable. The kiddie pool, it's comfortable. But I'm a grown man sitting in a kiddie pool on a stage in the middle of a sermon. That's ridiculous. Almost as ridiculous as you live in your life in the shallow end, not stepping out to a place where you can't touch the bottom. It's kind of ridiculous to me that I tell God I want him to take me places I've never been, but I sit my butt in the kiddie pool. You're like, yo, the earth is 80% water. You could just come after me. You could just check something new out that you've never seen before. But I'm not going to force you because I'm a gentleman. And I want you to want to be with me. I want you to get so hungry for the presence of God that you will actually sit with me. But this is what my life looks like. I put on the face at youth, but I'm just sitting in the kiddie pool, scrolling on my phone during worship. I got no prayer life. I ain't got nothing. And I'm wondering why I'm not getting better. I wonder why nothing is changing in my situation. But then I call on his name, and friend, he still hears you. But most of the time, I would say, you can't hear him. Because when you are in the kiddie pool, you are not under the water. And he speaks under the water. He speaks when you're sinking. He speaks when you're actually stepping out and trusting him. When I can't touch the bottom, he's the only thing I can grab. I've got to learn how to sink. Sink. Let that sink in. This God is for you. Let that sink in. This God has plans for you. Let that sink in. He is proud of me. Let that sink in. He does not want to take you out. Let that sink in. He is for you every day of your life. Let that sink in. He has made you perfectly according to his design, not yours. Let that sink in. He is here waiting to let you be you. It's time for me to be me and recognize I'm grown too much to be in the kiddie pool, so I got to get out of it, and I actually got to get into the deep end, and I actually got to go somewhere I've never been before. I've actually got to begin to take myself to a place I've never been, because there's something here that I've never seen before. Oh, now I got a new perspective. Oh, I can see what's going on up on the stage now. From now it was different. I was looking this way. I've never been in here. This is kind of nice. It's endless possibility. I'm going to hang out with Junior because we chilling, right? Because all of a sudden there's new opportunities and new ways when I grow up to be who exactly God made me to be. And it reminds me, let me close it here. Y'all can start playing, so I'll stop preaching. It reminds me of my best friend in the Bible, Peter. Oh, I love Peter. Because he reminds me of myself so much. And he should probably remind all of us of ourselves so much. Because Peter has this thing that I love, if I can be honest. The thing I love most about Peter is that he was zealous for the Lord. Zealous. Not once would Jesus put Peter in a situation and not help him out when he stumbled. Not once. Jesus rebuked him one time. But every other time that Peter slipped up and found himself in a bad situation, Jesus said, oh, Peter, I'm proud of you. But can I teach you for a moment? Friend, it is good to be excited about the future. It's good to be excited about what God wants to do with your life. But the first encounter that Peter has with Jesus is crazy. Jesus shows up, and he's like, got all these people following him. And Peter's just observing. This is in Luke chapter 5. We'll put it on the screen for you. One day, as Jesus was preaching on the shore of the Sea of Galilee, great crowds pressed in on him to listen to the word of God. He noticed 2 empty boats at the water's edge, for the fishermen had left them and were washing their nets. Stepping into one of the boats, Jesus asked Simon, called Peter, its owner, to push it out into the water. He doesn't know him. Just, hey, can you move your boat for me? So he sat in the boat, Jesus did, and he taught the crowds from there. And when he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, now go out where it is deeper and let down your nets to catch some fish. Well, Master, Simon replied, we worked hard all last night. I've been trying to get over this addiction. I've been working on this for so long. All night long, God. I tried this. Master, I tried. I tried to get the thoughts out of my head. I tried to stop doing that with my friends. I tried and I tried. It hurts me, God, how much I've tried. But if you say so, I'll let the nets down again. This time, their nets were so full of fish they began to tear. A shout for help brought their partners in the other boat, and soon both boats were filled with fish and on the verge of sinking. When Simon Peter realized what had happened, he fell to his knees before Jesus and said, oh, Lord, please leave me. I'm such a sinful man. For he was awestruck by the number of fish they had caught, as were the others with him. His partners, James and John, the sons of Zebedee, were also amazed. And Jesus replied to Simon, do not be afraid. From now on, you'll be fishing for people. And as soon as they landed, they left everything and followed Jesus. Hey, yo, Peter, I need your boat. Hey, yo, Ezekiel, I need you to go tell the Israelites they've been slipping up. Hey, yo, you at youth camp this year, are you in too deep? I know you've been trying. I know you've been working all night. But I need you to cast the net down again. I need you to. But here's the thing, Peter. I think you've been trying to catch fish right here in the kiddie pool, in the shallow zone. You know what that verse said? Now go out where it is deeper, because there are fish to be caught. Success stays in the shallow, but destiny develops in the deep. If you want to be successful, you can live in the shallow end. You'll be successful. But if you want to get your purpose and your destiny, you've got to dive into the deep. How do I know? Because Peter is just looking for fish. That's all he wanted. He doesn't know this Jesus. He's just trying to make a couple bucks, and he had a long night at the office. Couldn't get anything to work. All his papers were shredded, spilled coffee on everything. He didn't know what to do. And Jesus shows up and says, hey, go out deeper. Try again. And what happens is the boat is going to catch a lot of fish. The nets begin to break. Things begin to shift. The rockiness begins to get a little bit more, to the point where the boats were sinking. Sinking. The boats began to sink. Just because you're overwhelmed doesn't mean it's from the devil. Just because there's more fish for you to catch than you ever thought that you would doesn't mean it's from the devil. Just because you feel like your boat's getting a little shaky doesn't mean it's the devil. The favor of God, when it shows up on your life, will take you to the verge of sinking. So my question for you is this: are you going to sink or are you going to swim? You know about riptides? The undertow that pulls you out in a riptide? You know how you fight a riptide so they don't take you out to sea and you die? It says, don't fight it. Let it go. Let your body sink and watch as you will wash up on shore slowly. Peter thinks he's going to catch fish, but Jesus wasn't going out to catch fish in that boat. He was going out to catch some fishermen. He doesn't want your talent. He wants you. He doesn't want what you can offer him because he gave it to you in the first place. But when you give him your heart, he gets all of that. So he could have just had success, Peter, in the shallow catching fish. But once they caught him, Jesus says to him, no longer will you catch fish, you will catch people. Friend, maybe tonight you're the fish that has not been caught yet. You're in the deep, right where God has been waiting to reach and grab you. But you have been so lost. Your tunnel vision has strengthened you to this place where you feel like there's no hope for tomorrow. You've just been drowning and drowning. I want to encourage you tonight, it will be your opportunity to sink. When you sink in him, he lifts you up. Because he says, when you decrease, I exalt. When you go down, I go up. When you let me do it, I go above and beyond. He says, I will take you to a place that you never have gone before. Do you know what the word destiny means? It means to exceed the expectation of what you've seen in the past life. That's the difference between success and destiny. Success is something that already happened, but destiny is prophesying something that will happen. And I just want to tell you tonight, friend, it's not okay to stay in the shallow end anymore. God's not looking for you to just be a successful Christian. God's not looking for you to just do it 9 to 5 one day of the week. God's not looking for you to just show up to youth camp once a year. God's not looking for you to just give him part of your heart. No, he's like, listen, I've got a destiny that has your name on it, and I'm waiting to give it to you. I've written the pages of your life that you thought would burn up and go to hell. I know you thought that you would be done by now. I know you thought you should quit and give up. I know you thought there would never be a day. I feel the Holy Ghost. I know you never thought there would be a day that I wouldn't reach out to you, but he says, I'm not after the fish, I'm after you, the fisherman. Would you let me use your boat for a minute? Would you let me take you to a place of overwhelming favor that you begin to sink? Listen, this God wants to bless you exceedingly, abundantly, above whatever you could imagine, think, or ask. You've been asking God to save you from the addiction. He wants to save your whole family and bring them to Jesus. You've been asking for him to take that little medical issue that you have. He wants to make you a doctor that finds the cure for cancer. Your dream is not big enough, but you have been fighting the focus of God, letting you sink and letting your destiny come over your life. And tonight you can pick it up if you want it, but you've got to be willing to say, I will stand when I need to. I'm not going to swim against the current. I'm going to sink when the waves are coming over me. The waves are not my fault, but my response is, and I will say yes to this Jesus. I will let him take me. I will let it go. I will float. I will sink. God will do whatever it takes, but I just want to be in the deep where you are. That's what I want. That's what I want. Go ahead and stand up all across this room. you feel like there's something in you that's been holding you back from the depths of God, can I help you? It was not your fault what happened to you. It was not your fault. The deep pit that you are in has not been caused by you. God wants to pull you out. But maybe you are a prodigal tonight, and the deep pit that you are in is caused by you. You've been running in the backyard, taking laps, doing whatever it is that you wanted to do, saying this and saying that, and you want God to touch your life tonight. God, I want you to get me in the deep end. God, I want to take somewhere that I've never gone before. God, I want to give you that addiction I never tried to give. God, I want to give you my whole life. I'm tired of giving you these little bits and pieces and getting hype on one night at a youth camp. I want you to have my life, God. I want you to use me in a way like you could use somebody else next to me. I want you to use me in a way that some other people would be telling a story about my life 2,000 years later so that somebody else might find hope. God, I want you to do it with me. That's you in the room tonight. Put your hand up. You want God to use you. You want God to take you out of the shallow end. You want to grow up tonight and get out of the kiddie pool and start swimming to the deep end and just begin to sink in the place where your feet can't touch the bottom. I want you to come down to this altar right now. I want you to come after the presence of God. Somebody might pray for you. Something might happen in your heart. But right now, get before the Lord. If you've been staying in the shallow, you've been playing church, you've been playing youth group, you've been playing Wednesday night, and you want to get serious about your school, you want to get serious about your family, you want to get serious and cut out everything in your life that has been bad, then this is the place you need to be. There's a moment right now, and God is saying, I'm allowing you to sink in my presence. So right now, friend, just begin to sink. If you feel like you need to speak, speak. But the moment that He begins to speak to you, just sink in. Just sink in. Just sink in. Just release what He's got on your life. Just receive what He's saying over you. Just take it right now. He wants you to sit in the deep with Him. He's so for you. He's not against you. He loves you. He's got plans to hope in the future to prosper you. Just sink in right now.